frozen pizza costs $10. My frozen pizza costs $1.88. This pizza has over 1,000 calories. Mine has 282. This pizza has 45 grams of fat. Mine has 4.6. And as if all of that wasn't good enough, this pizza has 12 grams of protein in it, and mine has 25. And you also get to eat an entire pizza by yourself. You guys are not even gonna believe this. I cannot wait to show you. I'm gonna be making these pizzas in 3 different batches, so I'm gonna be using 4 bowls because I find it's a lot easier to make the dough separately for each pizza than all together and trying to cut it up because it's a really wet dough. So I'm starting with a 1/4 cup of flour in each bowl, followed up by 3 tablespoons of vital wheat gluten per bowl, and I will have all the grams in the PDF. We have 1/8 a teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of active dry yeast per bowl, and then we're just gonna mix all those dry ingredients together. And now to each bowl, I'm gonna add 1/2 cup of hot water around 110 degrees Fahrenheit because this is gonna help activate that yeast. And I'm also gonna add a 1/4 teaspoon of apple cider vinegar. The vinegar here is gonna help keep the gluten from getting too chewy. I'm gonna mix that together until there's no more dry bits. So you can see this is a very wet dough. Then I'm gonna cover it with a cloth and just set it aside for 20 minutes. While that dough is proofing a little bit, I am gonna cut out 12 circles of parchment paper here, the size of my pan, and I'm gonna be using 8-inch pans for these. They're just cake pans. You can use whatever you want. You can freestyle them on a cookie sheet as well. I just like this because then you get all these adorable, identical little pizzas here. So I put my parchment paper at the bottom, and then I'm spraying it with cooking spray. Looking back, I should have sprayed the sides a little bit better. And I'm gonna carefully dump each pizza dough into the cake pans. And you can see again, it's very, very wet. So you're not gonna like spread it around the way you would regular dough. I recommend using the back of a spoon and sort of patting it down and out until it reaches the edges of the parchment paper. Sometimes you might get little holes where you can see the parchment paper through it. It's okay, just keep using your spoon to sort of cover that and try to keep it even. And then I'm gonna pop these in the oven at 450 degrees for 10 minutes. And while that was in the oven, even though I'm not showing it in that order, while it was in the oven, I started making the dough for the next batch. Okay, there we go. I can do this. Please, please, please fit. It will, but barely. Can we make this work? This one on there. Ouch, that's still hot. How many can I stack before the door won't shut? That many. Ah, okay. Okay. That should do it. Cool, there's the plan. Holy smokes. You betrayed me, pans. All right, so when my first batch came out of the oven, they looked great, but they were kind of stuck to the edges a little bit. So for the subsequent batches here, I really made sure to spray right around the edge of the cake pan. Now I'm taking these out and putting them on cookie sheets with the parchment paper still underneath them. And I'm gonna pop those in the freezer. So again, I actually made these batches of dough while the first one was in the oven just to save some time. Now, I didn't talk about how cheap this pizza is to make. Each pizza uses 5 cents of flour, 39 cents of vital wheat gluten, a penny of apple cider vinegar, a penny of salt, and 9 cents of yeast, coming in at 55 cents per pizza dough. I don't think it gets much cheaper than that. But I'm super excited about this. Some of you might be aware of the 𝐬𝐻𝐾𝐿's liquid pourable mozzarella. It's an awesome product. It's really delicious, but it's very expensive. The macros aren't very great. So I wanted to make a cheaper, macro-friendly version of this, and I think I got pretty damn close. So you guys will have to try it and tell me, did I get close enough? So I'm gonna make enough of this liquid cheese to cover all 12 of the pizzas. In a Vitamix or another high-powered blender, we're gonna do a weird amount of water. 1 cup and 7/8 cup of water. So the easier way to do this is to measure out 2 cups of water and then remove 2 tablespoons of it. And then I'm gonna use this powdered cashew mix. So you've heard of PB2, that's powdered peanut butter. This is powdered cashew butter. And PB2 is the only company I've seen that makes it. I don't know, it might exist out there somewhere else. I'm using 1.5 cups of that. It's much more macro friendly than using whole cashews, but I'm hoping that it's still gonna give us the same payoff. We're gonna go ahead and add 3 tablespoons of either tapioca flour or cornstarch, 3 teaspoons of salt, 1.5 teaspoons of agar powder, 1/2 teaspoon of xanthan gum, and then I used 1/2 teaspoon of this vegan cheddar cheese powder that's mostly made out of yeast, but if you don't have that, you could also just use nutritional yeast, that's fine. And then I'm adding 1.5 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar, and then we are just gonna blend it until it is completely smooth. Now, if you don't have the agar or the xanthan gum, I still think it would come out pretty good. It's just not gonna be quite the same texture, but that's okay. So the pourable mozzarella that I just made is $1.12 per pizza. So that's quite a steal considering how many pizzas we were able to make out of this. And then even when you add in the pizza sauce, all together, this pizza comes out to be $1.88 per pizza. Now you could push that number a lot higher by adding certain toppings to it, like if you added a pre-made vegan pepperoni or sausage or something, that would make it more expensive. But just a plain cheese pizza made this way costs $1.88. I think that is just crazy. Okay, so now we're gonna get our toppings together. So I didn't actually have a lot of toppings in the house, so I'm gonna do half of them as olive pizzas and half pineapple and jalapeno pizzas for me and 𝐬𝐽. I ideally wanted to put 3 tablespoons of sauce on each of the pizzas, but I quickly realized that I was gonna run out of that sauce, so my pizzas, the pineapple jalapeno, ended up only having about 2, so mine were a lot less saucy than 𝐬𝐽's here. So I also added some basil and oregano to his. And now I'm just taking the olives that I had and sprinkling them across. If you had more toppings, you could definitely add them. So the macros I'm gonna give you at the end are just for a cheese pizza, because you can add whatever toppings you want. And then I'm taking 1/2 cup or so of the cheese sauce we just made and drizzling it over the top here. And at first it seems like you're not gonna cover the whole pizza, but it spreads as it sits there. So now we're moving on to my pizzas, the pineapple jalapeno. Those jalapenos, I actually grew them in my garden and pickled them myself, so very proud of those. And you guys might not know this, but I actually worked in pizza restaurants for a really long time when I was younger. And one of the things that you do in a lot of pizza restaurants is a lot of the toppings you actually put under the cheese, so the cheese holds them on. In fact, when I worked at Pizza Hut, the only topping that went above the cheese was pepperoni. Fun fact. So to this day, I still put a lot of toppings under the cheese so that it holds it onto the pizza. Now I had to do my Tetris, fitting this all into the freezer, hoping that it was gonna work. It did work. I used little spice containers to separate these trays so that they wouldn't be right on top of each other, because they are very wet pizzas. I had to get really creative here at the end. Please shut. Yes! And then I just froze them overnight. All right, it's the next morning, and it's Monday morning, and these are definitely frozen. So now what I'm gonna do so they don't take up 50% of my freezer space is, now that they're frozen, they won't be wet on top, I'm gonna put them in freezer bags here and stack them on top of each other. Now, you could write the instructions on the bag, you could write the macros on the bag, but I think I'm just gonna leave them as is for now. So let's get going. Okay. I'll do 6 at a time. Whew. Chilly on my fingers. Okay. So you just want to make sure your bag is big enough to actually hold the pizza, which these are. And now I'm going to take the parchment paper off of them because it's totally frozen. Okay, squish as much of the air out as you can. If you have a vacuum sealer, you could also use that. I do not. Okay. So that's the space that it now takes up in the freezer. All right, well, it's lunchtime and I want to show you how these reheat. So I preheated the oven to 450 degrees. I am going to put those pizzas, one for me, one for 𝐬𝐽, on a cookie sheet with a silicone mat. So to reheat these pizzas, I'm preheating the oven to 450 degrees, and I'm cooking them for anywhere from like 10 to 14 minutes. So first I put them in for 10 minutes, and then I cut 𝐃𝐨𝐽's pizza. And then I like mine quite a bit crispier, so I popped it back in the oven for another 4 minutes, and I thought that came out perfect for a nice thin and crispy crust. All right, you ready to taste some pizza?
Yeah, give me the pizza. You had me super worried because there's a pizza, well, that's not a pizza.
It is a pizza.
It is not. Pineapple does not belong on pizza. This is the pizza.
All right. So these pizzas are 8 inches, 282 calories, 24.7. We're gonna round that to 25. 25 grams of protein. 4.6 grams of fat, and then 36.8 grams of carbohydrates for the whole pizza. Now those macros are just for a cheese pizza because I don't know what toppings you're gonna put on them. But 282 calories, 36.8 grams of carbs, 4.6 grams of fat, 24.7 grams of protein. And we have 10 more of these frozen in the freezer.
Ready?
Cheers.
Cheers.
White shirt was a bold move here.
Haha, I kind of wanted to fold it because that's how you eat pizza.
How you eat pizza.
That's a good pie.
Or pizza.
Oh, it's a pie. I knew she'd correct me. Whoa, that's a really good crust. Because it's a protein crust, which usually compromises that, because the crust is, well, the sauce is the most important thing in pizza, but the crust is pretty damn important too. Especially at crystals when you cook it. This is really good crust. I'm impressed.
So most of the protein is coming from the crust, but normally I would make a protein crust and then put a store-bought vegan cheese on it, which is fine, but usually the fat content's really high.
Right.
In a frozen 𝐷EA pizza, their 8-inch pizza has 40 grams of fat. 40. And it's 1,170 calories.
And you can load this up with just as much cheese and it's just as delicious.
But this is like a homemade 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐫𝐢𝐻𝐵 pourable mozzarella.
That's ridiculous. You can pour this mozzarella.
Yeah, it's a liquid.
So how would you store it?
On the pizza. I haven't tested it. I think you could probably make it and put it in a bottle and put it in the fridge, but I don't know how long it would last. Probably have to shake it up before you use it.
I want to see how creative our audience is. If they're like, I'm watching this, I want to see what I can do as a result of watching your video. Or they're just gonna be like, nah, just give me the next recipe.
I am so psyched about this. The only thing that would have made this better is if I had more pans. I wouldn't have had to make them in 3 batches.
Or if we had like 10 different pizzas to
and
try.
freezer space.
Yeah, Pizza's my favorite food group, second to ice cream. And I'm a very big pizza critic. And I have to tell you, this is damn good pizza. And high in protein too, which is icing on the cake.
Forgot to mention how much it costs. So a cheese pizza without the toppings on it comes out to $1.88.
That's like buying a slice of pizza, one slice, like 10 years ago, and you're making a whole entire pie for that price?
So again, a 𝐷EA frozen pizza, 1,170 calories, ours 282. 𝐷EA frozen pizza was over $10 at most stores I looked. This is $1.88.
That's not gonna taste like a frozen pizza. It's gonna taste like a fresh piece of awesomeness.
Well, I mean, it is a frozen pizza because I took it out of the freezer.
I couldn't tell.
But I like it better. And it's not gonna give me an upset stomach later. So.
Choke.
It's like the perfect lunch.
I know.
With some veggies on the side.
And you can freeze them up too?
Well, that's the point, is they're frozen pizzas. Did you see?
No.
Look, come here.
Oh my gosh. What? Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If you guys give this a shot, please let me know. I would love to see pictures of yours. You can tag me on Instagram at VeganProteins. And if you're looking for any kind of one-on-one coaching, if you're looking to build muscle or get leaner without giving up delicious food that you love, that's what we do. We coach vegans to help them get into the best shape of their life. And we've been doing it for 17 years now.
Long time.
So we'll leave an assessment down below. If you fill that out, you'll hear back from one of us within a business day. We would love to help you on your journey. If you liked the video, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, hit the bell, all the things I'm supposed to tell you to do at the end of a YouTube video, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Later.
Oh my God, I love this.
It's really good.